Honoring your ancestors in an indigenous African traditional manner. That's what it's all about as the ORAAD hosts the first annual Egungun Festival on Sunday, April 30th. And to tell us more about how we're going to do exactly that, I'm joined by Ifalola Somorin, the founder and executive director of ORAAD Worldwide, here on the Now Morning Show. Good morning, sir, and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
We absolutely had to, because this morning we've had the opportunity to talk about our ancestry and showing ourselves in one way. This is another. Tell me first off, though, what exactly is ORAAD, the Organization for Re-Education of Africans and African Descendants Worldwide, all about?
It's a Pan-African organization focused on bringing what we call proper education to our people, more cultural education, information they may have missed. We focus more on the education of our children. Basically, that's what we do. We focus on bringing information to our children that they may not get in the school system,
Right.
that they may not get at home, that they may not get in their communities.
Now, if you're doing so with children in mind, it means that obviously everybody can grasp those concepts as well.
Exactly.
But it also can lead to being done in different ways, I imagine.
Yes.
So let's get into this particular event and how that's going to play a role in the re-educating of the African diaspora. First of all, with African words, we have meanings.
Yes.
So, Egungun Festival?
Egungun.
Egungun. Why did we decide on that name? What does it mean?
Egungun basically means ancestral. It's a Yoruba word. It means ancestral veneration. So instead of saying Egungun Festival, you may say, well, we're going to have ancestral veneration. Basically honoring and venerating our ancestors, those that came before us.
Right. And in terms of the process or the actual execution, we're heading down to Bugmalatres, and that means we will have some sort of event space to explore. How does that pan out? What does it look like?
Well, we're in collaboration with the Egungun Society, which deals with the ritualistic parts of the festival, the spiritual parts of the festival. They also deal with the masquerade parts of the festival. So ORAAD collaborated with them. We brought more like cultural, historical, heritage aspect to the festival. And the Egungun Society, they brought the more traditional, spiritual aspect of the festival. So ORAAD would have brought like drumming, dancing, singing, presentations by different organizations like Kwame Ture Educational Center, Education and Development Center, the Ainka Institute, the Orisha Elders of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as a few Orisha communities will also be giving presentations on that day. So we mixed the culture with the indigenous tradition and made up this presentation here.
Now, you know you had me on masquerade, because when we hear that word, we think portrayals and costumes and all of the festivities and lavishness of Carnival. Is it similar?
Well, Carnival does have a root when you go into the history of Trinidad and Tobago and the Yoruba people and their traditions and what they brought to Trinidad. So, yeah, it's not the carnival costumes that we may know, but you know, it's stuff that was actually bought directly from Togo, Africa, that is not designed locally, you know, and it also comes with, some believe, a spiritual energy.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the spiritual energy, because the event itself is planning to be an annual one, the very first of its kind, but there is also an actual newly formed platform that speaks to a temple for holistic healing, transformation and development. And that sounds very spiritual to me.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what that might look like?
Ele Ashe Ormila Baba Agbon Merigun. It's a platform that gives us the freedom to bring indigenous African tradition and spiritual practices as a Pan-African organization. ORAAD Worldwide is a Pan-African organization, but there will be a difference between Pan-Africanism and spirituality. So we created a platform that we could express and bring to the people that education and African spirituality.
Now, I know a lot of our viewers and listeners are going to be doing some research because we are only skimming the surface this morning. But of course, coming into the event, heading down to Burgmalaches, you're going to be able to get more education, get a sample of feel, immerse yourself in these sorts of experiences. And how long are we looking at? Because it starts in the afternoon, but this sounds like it could be a much longer thing.
Yeah, we starting at 4 p.m. We should have started a little earlier.
To get everything in.
But it developed, it developed as time go along. So it will take us to about 7:30 p.m.
That's a lot of time.
Yes. There'll be food, there'll be drinks, all is free,
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
To be able to put on those sorts of performance and feed and entertain everybody.
Yeah.
Any partners that we want to acknowledge then?
Well, we only collaborated with the OJ Society. This event was done by the people, for the people. The people of Burgmalaches, you have people that contributed, who may contribute some items of food, who may contribute financially towards things that we may have to adjust in completing this.
Nice. So for the people, by the people, with the people. We're heading down there and we're going to be entertained and educated.
Yes.
But this being the first of its kind, what can we expect in the future? Any other items we can add to our calendar for ORAAD?
Yes, well, coming along with Ile Ashe, Urmila Baba Agmon Merigun, prior to this event here on Sunday, what we did was we held classes in the community to educate the people about these same questions that we have in here now.
Right.
So we in process of developing another platform, which is Otito Nifa, which will actually be the educating aspect of indigenous African tradition. Eleashe is more of the practicing aspect of the tradition.
So if we were to, when we use the word platform, it's kind of broad-based. We're talking about a digital space that we can head to, a physical space that we can head to?
No, we use the word platform as our beginning point. Actually, the vision for Eleashe would be the establishing of a space, an actual structure, where people could come and worship in indigenous African ways. Yeah.
And that's incredulous because, as you rightfully said, we have an idea that, carnival is rooted in African culture. We have garb that we know we can wear, but we don't necessarily have the full story. A lot of our history is removed or, as you said, not shared in schools or not even shared in homes. So what you're describing is going to fill that gap.
Yes, we're going to strive to fill that gap. It is a struggle. You're talking about practices that has been demonized, that, you say certain words like Obia and everybody gets shaky. You see where we're going around these Obia people and, so we're trying to dispel those myths and get rid of those negative images towards African people and their practices
and
beliefs.
A tall order, but the mission starts.
Yes, it has started.
And so on the 30th of April, we're going to have the opportunity to experience that not just through the usuals that we're accustomed to, the visuals and the sounds, but even in a more transcending, holistic, healing and transformative way. And for that, I genuinely say thank you.
You're welcome.
Tall order, best of luck. But if people wanted to get on board beyond the event and continue to follow through with getting that education, accessing the information, how can we find you?
Well, you can find us on Facebook at ORAAD Worldwide. That's ORAAD Worldwide. You could also email us at orad2012@gmail.com, or you could contact us at 785-7102.
All right. So we've got the numbers, we've got the date, and we don't have to pay for a ticket. We are heading to Burgmalaches, and we're going to make sure that we immerse ourselves as ORAAD hosts the first annual Egungun Festival on the 30th. Thank you ever so kindly, Mr. Somorin, for joining me this morning, for educating us, for creating this space, for championing the fight, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. But guys, as I told you, things to add to your calendar, things to start the conversations, to ask the questions, and get you started now. We'll be back after these messages with even more for you, so stick around. Not that I can.